In mammals, the nervous system is split into two main regions. The first region is called the central nervous system, and that consists of the brain and the spinal cord. And then the other region is referred to as the peripheral nervous system, and that's all the other neurons inside the body. So actually, if you think about a relay arc, for instance, where you have school's really mad, sensory, relay, motor, the relay neuron would be part of the central nervous system, but the sensory and the motor neurons would all make up that peripheral nervous system. They're often shortened to CNS for central nervous system and PNS for peripheral nervous system. As well as that, we can also split the nervous system into two different parts depending on their functions. So the first part, or the first function, is referred to as the somatic nervous system, and that's the bit where you have conscious control. So for instance, if you want to move your arm, or you decide to lift your leg, or you decide to talk, they are voluntary, and so within the somatic nervous system, information will be sent to the muscles. Impulses will be going to the muscles. The second one is the autonomic nervous system, and that system is constantly working in the background. It's subconscious, so you don't have to think about it. It's involuntary, and those are the things that keep your heart beating, your food being digested, keeps you breathing. And so actually with those ones, it's not going to your muscles, but we've got electrical impulses there going to parts of the body such as your cardiac muscle in your heart, such as the walls of your small intestine, which are made of smooth muscle to contract that and move your food along in peristalsis, and also to glands if you need to release any hormones. Now, the autonomic nervous system can be further divided, and it can be divided into two further regions, one called the sympathetic nervous system and one called the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, generally, the sympathetic nervous system is used to increase activity, so such as your heart rate, whereas the parasympathetic nervous system is used to decrease activity, for instance, to slow down your heart. A good way to remember this is by using the fight or flight response for sympathetic responses, and for parasympathetic responses, rest and digest. And that will really help you when you're answering questions, if you can remember those two phrases, because you will be asked to suggest what might be happening in different parts of the body, either in a sympathetic response or a parasympathetic response. So that's what I want you to have a go at now. So on this table here, we've got some different structures. So the salivary glands, lung, kidney, stomach, and small intestine. And what I want you to do is have a little think about what might happen in each one of those structures with a sympathetic response, remember that's fight or flight, or a parasympathetic response, remember that's rest and digest. So hopefully you paused the video at that point there and had a go at the table. If you haven't, then pause it now and have a quick go. But as you can see from the results, you do have to really think about these. They seem to be quite easy, but you just have to spend a moment thinking about them before you kind of pull your answer together. So sympathetic, remember, we're looking at fight or flight. So what we're doing there is we're looking at any part of the body that is going to cause an increase in respiration, because fight or flight is all about creating energy, creating ATP, so that you can either fight or you can run away. So saliva is going to be reduced. You don't need to be doing that. You don't need to be spending and wasting energy decreasing urine or digesting food. So stomach and small intestine will also reduce. Your lungs, your bronchial muscles relax, because that means that the airways are bigger. And so that's going to allow more oxygen into the body and removal of more carbon dioxide. For the parasympathetic, remember, rest and digest. So now this is when your saliva, your urine production, your stomach and your small intestine are going to kick into action. And so we're going to have much more, many more impulses acting in those regions, and their activity is going to increase. This is a nice table which shows the whole of the peripheral nervous system in a summary form. So on the top row there, you've got the somatic nervous system, and remember that's your voluntary reactions. So that's where we're going to have stimulation of skeletal muscle by choice, so that you can move your arm, etc. And the thing to note there is that the neurotransmitter is acetylcholine, that's ACH, that's what that stands for. Underneath that, you've got the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems. Sympathetic, remember, being your fight and flight. Parasympathetic being your rest and digest. Sympathetic, note that the neurotransmitter here is noradrenaline, and the neurotransmitter for the parasympathetic is acetylcholine again. And what they will do is they will either have a stimulatory or an inhibitory effect on parts of the body, such as smooth muscles in the gut, glands, or your cardiac muscle in your heart.